There are many things that remain unanswered in this world, but the most important one is, will we ever be able to speak the language of dolphins? Welcome to the Embarrassing Diary. Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well and are feeling great. I know this world is a crazy place right now, but the Embarrassing Diary might be even scarier. You chose to be here, so please keep your kids and pets away. Last episode was a blast. Thank you so much for your encouraging words, your gifts, your love letters. They're all saved in my attic for the difficult winter days. In today's episode, we will have a very special guest that I've been looking forward to join me with her positive energy and impeccable storytelling skills. She's a mom, a friend, a writer, an entertainer, but most importantly, she's Deadpool. Yep, you heard it right, everyone. She's a superhero. Wanna know why? Well, just stay tuned because Aliki is on the house. Hi, Aliki.
Hi, Zoe.
Thank you so much for being here.
Definitely. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a huge honor to have you in my house.
Oh, that's really kind. But it's an honor for me to be here.
So let's start a little bit to discuss about your story.
Yes.
I figured out recently that you actually have a traitor book.
Well, I had a
You
traitor
had,
bird.
sorry. Yeah.
I'm going to stick to the past now. Yes, I am a breast cancer survivor. In fact, it was a very rare form of breast cancer called inflammatory breast cancer. And the Traitor Vob made me aware of the fact that I had breast cancer. And yeah, it was very simple because there was no pain, there was no swelling, no leaking, no nothing. There was no lump, which is very important that I want to point out because a lot of people expect that there's a lump when you're looking for breast cancer signs. And in my case, all that happened was that the nipple changed color. It was not its usual pink. It was a very sad, sickly yellow. And I only noticed it because I was about to get into the shower and I saw myself in the mirror of the bathroom. And then I thought to myself, okay, probably something's blocked. I will just go to the doctor and get checked. And yeah, and that's how my story began.
Oh, okay. So you saw it in the bathroom. You were showering. Did you feel something is off, or did you get scared, or did you think, okay, maybe I should just?
No, I was more because I'd had mastitis on the other breast. When I had kids in the beginning, when I was breastfeeding, I thought it would be something like that. I knew that I was stressed out. I was going through a burnout at the time. And I was still trying to get my energy. So I was thinking, okay, my body is expressing its anger and its stress in various ways. So yeah, no, cancer did not cross my mind, but mostly because we've been brought up as women to always check for lumps. From the minute we get a bra, look for lumps.
100%.
There was no lump. So my mind did not go to cancer. Definitely not.
Exactly, especially growing up in Greece. I remember there were those commercials that they would say, yeah, like lift your armpit and check on the side.
And that's actually wrong. You shouldn't lift your armpit. You should leave your armpit loose down because when it's up, you anyway find something that's
right?
So you always have to kind of let it loose a little bit. I mean, that's how my oncologist checks me. She's like, no, don't put your hands up. Just leave them down. And she starts to fiddle. to check and see what she can feel. But yeah, you shouldn't, because if it's stretched, sometimes you have a sweat duct or something that can be a little bit stressed and full.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's not an indication. It's different.
So okay, debunking a misconception here.
Yes, the information is wrong.
It's
out
wrong.
there,
False information.
Yeah.
So okay, so then you went to your doctor,
Yeah.
and what did the doctor say?
Well, I have to say I'm very fortunate because I've heard a lot of bad stories about doctors and GPs that to just dismiss people. My doctor, though, thankfully, is more of the attitude, let's just get you checked to be sure. So he immediately wrote a letter so I could go to the hospital, and he said to me, actually, if they don't call you tomorrow for an appointment, call me so I can make it for you. So it was his urgency that kind of ticked me off a little bit. But he was reassuring. He was like, it might be nothing, but let's be sure it's nothing. Then I went to the hospital, and that's where the saga begins because they did because they did a mammogram like they would usually do, and I could see it, they could see it. It was clear.
Oh,
there was nothing on the mammogram. But
there was nothing on the mammogram.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing on the mammogram. It was a clear breast. Both breasts, and then they said, okay, let's do an ultrasound. But this one they were going to check around the side of my boob and also under the axilla, under the armpit. And with that one, they couldn't see anything again. And they were like, look, we do not see anything. You're clear, but we do not like the way it looks. So we're going to call in the surgeon.
Okay.
And the surgeon came in, and the surgeon was also of the mentality of, yeah, I don't see anything wrong. So let's just be sure. And she actually did a biopsy, which is not very pleasant, on the actual nipple where it was yellow.
Ooh.
So for those people who don't know what a biopsy is, they take a piece of skin or a piece of lump or something and they take it to the lab to test it.
Oh my
It's
God.
painful. So yeah, and that came back clear. Okay, we're in the clear.
Check. Yeah.
But then the surgeon said to me, I still want to see you. I still want to check you. And she looks at the boob and she says, yeah, it doesn't look right. So let's do an MRI. And that's where we caught it. I went for the MRI and immediately 5 minutes later, I get the call. I was on my bike and they called me and they said, please come back.
Oh my God.
And I had to go back to the hospital and the radiologist there said to me immediately, we're looking at inflammatory breast cancer. Please turn on your side because I'm going to do the biopsy right now. And that was the thing, that the cancer was not in my boob, not in my armpits, it was on the chest wall.
Okay.
And because it was on the chest wall, the mammogram and the ultrasound were not going to catch it anyway. So I was very lucky that that surgeon said, let's do an MRI, because the MRI circles around you and that's how they caught it. And then I had to lie on my side and he had to do not one, not two, but 3 biopsies.
Oh.
And it was very painful. And I think that was the worst part.
Yeah.
Because after that, he was very kind. He was wonderful. And he's part of the reason everything went so well, because he acted so quickly. But he immediately took me to the mama care that they have at the hospital. He was like, you can speak to the specialist and she will give you all the schedule, what you're going to do. And they immediately said to me, look, it's Friday, but come Monday, we're going to call you and we will have everything ready. A CT scan scheduled, PET scan scheduled, and what the plan is, and we will update you. So from that minute, everything went into motion.
So started like
quickly.
ticking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was explained very quickly that I'm a ticking time bomb, because inflammatory breast cancer spreads within weeks and not within months or years like the other breast cancers.
Yeah. And
So,
could they say the duration, like when did this happen?
Well, not really, but I can share this information, is that I was diagnosed in June 2022. But in January 2022, so 6 months before, I had gone for a breast reduction consultation and I had done all the checks, mammogram, MRI, and ultrasound, because they wanted to check if there was any dense tissue or anything. And I was clear.
Okay. So
So in 6 months, I was
essentially-
stage 4.
Wow.
That's how fast inflammatory breast cancer spreads. That's why it's very, very important that even though it's 1-2% of breast cancers, that people know that no lump, still cancer. Always check. Always just be sure. It looks like an infection. It doesn't feel right. Go and get it checked. That's it.
All right. So you found out this really crazy news. By the way, how did you feel at the beginning when you found out? Did you feel scared? Did you feel relieved? Did you feel a mixed bag?
Well, yeah, definitely a mixed bag. That's a good one. Well, first, there is no way to describe getting a cancer diagnosis. There is a lot of fear around the word. There's a lot of uncertainty around the diagnosis, and it was terrifying. And the word crippling always comes to mind, like it paralyzed me. But the thing I can definitely describe is when I heard the words, we are looking at inflammatory breast cancer, I did feel that somebody had chucked my heart out and dropped it in an ice bucket.
Oh.
So it was terrifying.
Yeah.
However, I would like to point out here that the radiologist was very good in the choice of words. He didn't say, you have inflammatory breast cancer. He said, we are looking at it, as in it's on the screen. And that, I think, now that I look back, was a very good choice of words, because it really helped me, like, it's not you who has it, it's something there, but we can deal with it.
Yeah, and we're a team now.
Yeah,
we're together on this.
and that was the beginning of, okay, like the fact that he immediately called me back for the biopsy, even though it was a Friday afternoon. He could have waited until next week. No, he was on it. And also then that he alerted the medical team that is now my medical team and taking care of me. So that was great. That was wonderful that he did that.
So you have this really intense news.
Yeah.
This is life changing. It's also heartbreaking. How did you announce it to your family? I know you have
Yeah.
3 beautiful kids.
Thank you.
They're really sweet.
Yeah.
Was it hard to say this to them?
That was the hardest part. My husband, thankfully, he was in the room with me
Mm.
when we got the news, and he was kind of my rock. He was also in shock and everything. But then we kept it quiet, or we're not discussing it in the house for at least a week. So we were busy doing all the children's activities. They had different parties. It was the last week of school. There were things happening at the school. So it was a very busy time where we just wanted to hide a little bit and process the news, but we still had to be out there and socialize.
Mm-hmm.
So we immediately told my parents and his parents so they could be aware. And that was a telephone call in both cases because my parents live abroad, of course, but his parents had also just left for holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So we ruined their holidays this way. Hello, just so you know, have a nice enjoy your time off, but this happened. So yeah, that wasn't very great.
Yeah.
But and then we waited a little bit to get more news because we wanted to do the scans first.
And of course, maybe you needed some time to process it yourself.
That too, but it was more that the minute you announce a piece of news like that, everybody starts to either give you advice that, oh, it's going to be okay. And you're a bit like, well, we don't know because we haven't seen how much it has spread. Or you get the questions of like, where is it? How far along? How much time do you have left? I've gotten that question as well. So it was more of like, okay, let's just wait. Let's get the scans. Let's get the action plan. And once we know that, we can share the news because then we have more information. So yeah, we took, it was about a week. And that was the hardest part to tell the children because the children were, my youngest was 5 at the time. So she couldn't understand completely or couldn't, like, she had heard it, but she didn't know what it was. And my eldest one, who was 9 at the time, he knew fully what it was and he started crying. He was very, very upset and very emotional about it. But I said to him, look, Mama's going to fight. I'm not going anywhere. And then I said to him, I said to them, yeah, and Mama's going to lose her hair because obviously I'm going to do chemotherapy. And that's what shocked all 3 of them. So it was, yeah. And my eldest actually said, I thought you would lose your hair because you were sick. I didn't realize it was because of the medicine. And then I said, no, it's because of the medicine, but it will come back. And it was like, okay, all right. So once you discuss and once you talk about it with him, it was better for us as well because it was a weight that went off our shoulders as well. When we told the kids, I think that was the point for me where I said, okay, now I can do this.
Yeah. Because you had everybody on board.
Yeah.
And you were like emotionally prepared for it and equipped because, of course, your family is there for you and you need them all on board and say, hey, let's do this all together. Let's hold hands and let's smash this thing.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I was very quick to say, no, this is not happening. Just by sheer stubbornness, I'm going to win this.
Yeah.
And I did feel the whole, it's not my time yet. I mean, yes, in the beginning, you do start questioning death. You face your own mortality. You wonder how it's going to be if you die and leave your children motherless and all those terrible, depressing thoughts. But then I kind of turned that around 2 days after and I said, no, just no. We're going to get up and get this done. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it's going to be done.
You're such a badass. You're such a badass.
I felt like one, yes, yeah.
Okay, so I also wanted to ask you, after all of this news, how your partner reacted to it and how your relationship was affected from those news.
Yeah, well, like I said, he was in the room with me, so it wasn't me delivering the news, it was the doctor delivering it to both of us. He was in shock, of course, and he later on told me that he processed it longer than I did, and it sunk in a bit later with him. Like in the beginning, it was more like numbness of let's get all the scans over with, let's find out what we're going to do. But after that, it was very emotional for him because he had to, I mean, anyway, he's my partner. We've always been doing things together. We've always been a team, also when it comes to the house, the kids, everything. But suddenly I didn't have the energy to pull my end of this, pull my weight, let's say. So, so he had to take up a lot, and he had to also be the rock and for the kids, because because the children would ask, like, where is mom? And mama's sleeping now. Is mama okay? Yes, she's okay, she's just sleeping, because my eldest would be worried, like, is she in hospital and you're hiding it from me, for example. So he had to deal with that emotional weight as well, which was quite heavy for him. And of course people contacting him and not me, so they could let me rest, or because they didn't know how to approach me.
And I wanted to ask you about that, like, how did other people react? Like, did they change? Because when I also heard the news, I remember I was thinking, how should I approach you? Should I tell you something super sweet? Will it sound too cheesy? Will I hurt you if I say something like this? Or if I don't say anything, will it sound too much? Like, but of course, I'm not saying from the perspective of the other people. How did you feel like, for instance, that some people's reactions changed?
Well, it's a mixture. It's a mixed bag again. No, it was a mixture of different reactions. A lot of people reached out to me to say that they were sorry and good luck with the treatment. But what happened was that we only managed to say family and close friends in the beginning. But then what I did do, I said to myself, I cannot keep this. I need people to know, and I can't keep repeating my story. So I sent a general message to friends and extended family, and I explained, this is what's happened. I've gotten the cancer diagnosis. I'm going to be starting chemotherapy. The prognosis is not great because they cannot operate and they cannot radiate, so I just have chemotherapy as an option. But I'm going to win this and it's going to be fine. And then after a few days, I also announced it on the social media that I have, Instagram and Facebook, because I said to myself, again, I cannot keep updating people separately. I'd rather send one message and whoever wants to follows it and reads it. And that's how I started the Instagram page, where I could get people there. And then a lot of people would reach out to me through there, and I had messages which were just a heart saying, I don't know what to say, or lengthy messages saying, I've always admired you and I'm so sorry this happened to you, and it's difficult and I'm thinking of you, which was also really appreciated. But what really touched me was that when the word was out there, I suddenly got a load of cards at home. I got cards, I got flowers. One friend actually, she got a box and she got her kids to decorate the box, and she threw in chocolates and socks and everything.
Oh, that sounds
and that
sweet.
was lovely. And people that we are in touch but not as often as we would like, they sent beautiful words and cards and everything. So I definitely felt the love. I definitely felt the support. And there were a few cases where people indeed didn't know what to say and they didn't get in touch as quick as I would have expected maybe, or as they would have expected. But they did eventually do that, and they would like, we don't know what to say. I've been trying to think of what to say, but I'm following you, I'm admiring you. And that's okay as well, because I can understand, before I got a cancer diagnosis, if a friend of mine or a colleague got cancer diagnosis, I would also not know what to say. It takes that experience to know how it is. But yeah.
And this is how you started also. So you mentioned about your social media page, which I will put in the description, but it's actually a very funny, that is the interesting part. It's a very funny page where you mention everything about breast cancer, from cutting your hair. You mentioned that your hair looks like Wolverine, or you look like Professor X. You're making all those funny jokes, and the one that really hit me was the one about being Deadpool.
Yes.
Do you want to read it yourself?
Yeah, I can read it. Okay, so Chemo Uncovered, number 4, because I was doing that. I was doing a little series of Chemo Uncovered. So after doing one of those online Facebook quizzes to see which superhero or supervillain I am, I'm happy to announce that it wasn't V, that is V from Vendetta, or Vecna, that is from Stranger Things, so people know, or even a Lord of the Rings orc, but my all-time favorite, which is Deadpool. My plan on accumulating superpowers in order to dress up in a tight suit is well underway, and steps to become Deadpool: get cancer, check. Go for a cure and hope to get superpowers. I got myself a t-shirt saying that, it counts, check. Treatment that makes you look like a squash burnt raspberry or a sun-dried tomato, take your sweet or savory pick, check. Just a side note here, I had a bad reaction to the chemo when I just started, and my skin burnt like I had a rash, but it was with pus. It was as if I'd had the worst sunburn in the history. So yeah, that's why I looked like Deadpool. Sarcastic humor and not taking anything seriously, hell yeah, check. And breaking the fourth wall in storytelling, hello, do you even know me? Check. So much therapy in the above lines.
Oh my God, Aliki, that is so funny. That is
Thanks.
hilarious. You are ridiculous. Okay, so Deadpool check, saying this to everyone check, having a really strong will and determination that we will beat this ugly monster check. And what happens next? Did you start chemotherapy?
I started chemotherapy about 2.5 weeks after the diagnosis, so pretty quickly. And I was informed that I would be doing chemotherapy and immunotherapy, which at that time I didn't know what that was. I'd never heard of it. And yeah, I started chemotherapy, but there was no indication of how long I would be doing it. There was no information, because what happened was with me, I started chemotherapy, and I still was waiting for results from another biopsy, because while we saw in the PET scan that it had not spread to other organs, it had spread to the mediastinum area, which is where the aorta is, the heart is, the bronchus lymph nodes are. So in an area where immediately they said, we cannot operate, we cannot radiate, we will do more damage than good. But before they concluded that, they wanted to do a biopsy and confirm that that little 3 millimeters that they found was indeed cancer. So I had to do a bronchoscopy, and then I did the bronchoscopy, and the day after I started chemo, my oncologist was, yeah, you're starting straight away so we can get ahead of this. So I had my first round, and then when I was going for the next week to go to my next round, we got the results that yes, it's spread there, so we're changing the type of chemo. So after that, we went for the heavy chemo, which is the one that I do every 3 weeks.
Because there are levels?
Yes, there's levels. Like if it's, because it depends on your stages. So you've got stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4, of course, is very heavy, but the 3, like when you're at stage 3, when they thought that I was, they were thinking, okay, you can get less dosage of chemo, but every week, because we're not going to be attacking your body that much. But then they realized, okay, it has spread, and it's spread at a bad area, and from there it can go everywhere. So let's hit you with the hard stuff. And that's why we started chemotherapy, which was about, every 3 weeks. And yeah, so I started with a bit of a, like, how long is this going to be going on for? Let's just keep going. But it was very quick to see, they did a scan very quickly with me, and they were very quick to see that I was responding, and I was in remission very, very quickly. So that was the great news in all the shitty news that was coming our way until then,
So how long until you got this good news?
So I was diagnosed in June. Beginning of July, I started chemo, and then I had the first scan end of August. So I remember it still. It was the 5th of September that I had the appointment with my oncologist, and she was skipping, and she said, "Great news, your scans are great." And she was so, so happy. And then in the report, it said 74% shrinkage.
Wow.
In such a short time, and with just 2 rounds of chemo.
Oh, wow.
So that was, for me, a sign that, yes, I can beat this. It's going already the way I want it to go, and even better. So, so definitely, it was great.
Wow. And then did you continue with chemotherapy?
Yes, I did in total 6 rounds of chemotherapy. 26th of October was my last chemo in 2022. And I didn't know it was my last chemo, because we stopped it there. We did that, and then I had another scan. And that scan showed that I only had like a really tiny blob of 6 millimeters left in total. And immediately my oncologist said, "Yep, we can stop."
Wow. How did you feel when...
Absolutely relieved, because I can go in to describe what chemotherapy feels like, but I've never felt so physically weak in my life. And I've had kids. I've given birth. I've taken care of them when they're sick. I've led myself to exhaustion in many ways. But not being able to rely on your body to take you from, let's say, walking your children to school, or being able to literally go from your kitchen upstairs to your bedroom without losing breath while climbing the stairs. That's, it's easy to describe, but it's absolutely terrifying to experience it. Yeah.
And it's interesting that what you're saying, that there is indeed this misconception that people think that is the cancer that's what's causing it, but it's actually the treatment is actually so devastating to your body that you really have to keep up with it, and it's like essentially it's attacking every cell of your body.
Yeah, you can be very healthy with cancer. Actually, you had a question before and I missed it.
Sorry, yeah.
Where you were saying about how did I feel? Like, did I feel relieved? Yes, I was going through a burnout at the time when I got diagnosed. And it was a relief to actually see that, okay, it's actually not a burnout. It's not my body failing me. I do have a problem that we're going to solve. So it was nice to know what it was. But that's the thing. There's a lot of people who are looking at the peak of health. There are people who exercise daily, eat healthy, never smoke, never drink. They still get cancer. So, and that's also, you see it in younger people as well.
Yeah.
Because we keep hearing, cancer is for old people. When you hit the 50, 55, 60 mark, you start checking for cancer. No, I was 36 when I was diagnosed. So no.
Yeah.
Anyone can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a picture of you with Martin on social media where he's actually cutting your hair, and I found this one a very emotional one.
Yep.
I understand that hair is a very important part of
personality.
Yes. How was it for you to lose your hair?
Well, I actually made the conscious decision to cut my hair before I started chemo. It really helped that we were going through a heat wave. And I had hair which was down to my waist and I was sweating, so I just said, nope, let's get it all off. So that was a very easy choice to make. But what was important was that we planned it on the weekend just before I started chemo, and we said to the children, come, you can help cut Mama's hair. And I was actually a bit shocked how enthusiastic they were that we can cut a chunk of Mama's hair out, and all of them just took at the scissors and went for it, especially my youngest. She was thrilled that she could do that.
No consequences. We can do that.
Exactly, yes, we can get away with this. So they cut off a few chunks, and then they got bored, which was also good because they kind of went and did their own thing. And then Martin and I sat and he continued to cut my hair. But we were laughing a lot because we had the kitchen scissors. He was cutting the longer parts of my hair to make it short. And then he decided to go with the machine to kind of shave my head. And the machine was getting stuck because my hair was so thick. So he said, okay, I can't do this, just wait. And he vanishes and he comes back and he brought the Hoover.
Yeah.
And he started hoovering my head to get the hair out so he could continue cutting. And then he had to hoover the machine as well. So we were laughing a lot, thinking like, are we ever going to get this done? So that was really funny. And then when it was done and I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, hang on, I'm rocking this look as well. So that was also a big plus for me. Like, I got really lucky in that department. I didn't go in emotionally and I didn't get traumatized by it either. Later on, of course, though, when chemo did start and I could see that the buzz cut started having patches, I remember that I once looked at myself in the mirror and said, okay, you don't look like what you usually look like. But it had to do also with the fact that my face was bloated. I looked yellow. I was tired. I was feeling sick, and I didn't know which end my dinner was going to come out from. Excuse me for the gory details, but that was the issue of the time. So yeah, hair was not my biggest problem. It was terrible to see my look, but I think it's also an indication that I didn't go for a wig. I only wore the little hats and the bandanas and scarves, and I never looked for a wig. I know that other people usually go for a wig, but in my case, my head's going to be itchy. No, thank you. No, I was okay with that. I know it is part of your personality. Now that my hair's coming back and I've got the chemo curls, I'm struggling sometimes. Like, I do miss my nice long straight hair, which I could put in a ponytail and be done with it.
Yeah.
But I'm also fully aware, like, I'm from the minute you get a cancer diagnosis, you're no longer going to be the person you were before. Yeah. You become a new person, and you get used to the new normal. It happens when you become a mum. It happens when you grow up. It happens in a lot of things. So in a way, along with my hair, I've said to myself, you don't forget who you were, but you're going to embrace the new you. Yeah. And it helps to go forward.
So I also wanted to ask you, during this whole period, how did you cope with your inner voice?
That's a good question. Yes, well, coping with my inner voice. I didn't keep my voice inner. I just let it all out. I mean, mostly with the posts that I would write.
Yeah.
That was a good let out. That was a good way to get everything out of my system and cope with it. But yeah, I didn't keep anything in. Yeah. It was also because one thing that people don't understand with chemotherapy is that, yes, it makes you very sick, but it makes you very agitated. And because you're agitated so much, you are very mean. So you say things which are horrible to people. And when you look back, you think, why did I say that? How could I have said that? But because I was writing things down, whether it was in my phone to write a post for Instagram later on, or just a kind of a diary to keep to myself to look back on it, that helped me to kind of minimize that that frustration that was, so I wouldn't hurt my kids and I wouldn't hurt my husband because they were in the same house with me. So yeah, I didn't really have, like, I did have conversations with my inner voice, but I made sure that these conversations were on paper in a way that I could later on reflect on them. And sometimes I've actually got that book and I do look back and I say, look, you've come a long way. Yeah. Like, it seemed desperate. There seemed that there was no hope on this day. But now you're a year ahead, maybe a year and a half. And yeah, things have changed miraculously in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you can always go forward.
I think there's a strength and power in telling your story and sharing it with the world. I feel personally that when I have it and I keep it inside, it has more power than me. Well, when I share it with social media or the world, my friends, it kind of like, it changes and I feel like I'm controlling the narrative.
Yes, yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of power in sharing your story, and there's a lot of power in owning that story and sharing it. And like you said, it has more power when you just keep it inside. It becomes your own little personal Voldemort, but you don't say Voldemort. You say he who must not be named. So yeah, when you get it out there, you're actually getting it out of your system, out of the way, and it becomes smaller. Yeah. It becomes smaller because it's something that you talk about.
You control it.
Yeah, and you control it, and it's just there, and you can work on it.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so after all of this, I wanted to ask you what happened next.
What happened next? What is still happening? So because I'm stage 4, which is not curable but treatable, I finished chemotherapy, those 6 rounds, and I continued with immunotherapy. And immunotherapy, to put it in very simple terms, I'm not a doctor, please let me disclose this, but it basically gives a little bit of a boost to your immune system to help drain and like keep the flowing of your lymphatic system, because that's basically where the cancer will start, because cancer cells are actually your body not getting rid of the trash properly, and that's how they grow. So the immunotherapy helps you with that, and the treatment of immunotherapy is fairly new, but it's doing wonders. However, it has a slower and a more long-term impact on your body, rather than chemotherapy, which immediately attacks, and once it's out of your system, your system can get better.
So it's less aggressive.
It's less aggressive, but it still has its side effects, because you still have to check your heart. It can cause that your heart is going a bit too fast and you can have heart failure. So you have to keep an eye on that as well. It makes you very sleepy. I have to go every 3 weeks. I still go every 3 weeks, and I will be for the rest of my life. As long as my body can handle it, I'll be doing immunotherapy. and I have to sit there for 2-3 hours, get my infusion, and then I need to take the day off because I'm very, very sleepy. I cannot focus, concentrate. I can't do anything. So I've called it for a joke my spa day, because I have to just take everything off and be done with it. And you shouldn't ask me any important questions that day. So yeah. But on top of that, once we concluded that, okay, the 6 millimeters are staying steady and they're not growing, even though we've stopped chemo, I started hormone therapy. And to explain a little bit, today, cancer diagnosis and treatment, they're so far ahead with their research that when they biopsy your tumor, they can see what your cancer feeds on, what protein it is, what hormone it is, what not. And my cancer is estrogen fed. So the first thing was, okay, we need to put you in medically induced menopause to lower your estrogen, and that way we will starve your cancer and it will prevent it from growing or even help it go away completely, which was the case actually. In July, I got the all clear that I am that I am well, not I won't say cancer free because we stage 4 people cannot say cancer free, but we say NED, which is the abbreviation for no evidence of disease. And yeah, there's there's a lot of joy in that memory, yes, because it was an achievement. It was what I said I was going to do.
Yeah,
And I did it.
you did it.
Yes.
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah.
For sure. I remember when I saw the post on Instagram, I was like, I started crying.
Aw.
I'm being honest, I didn't communicate. We didn't have a lot of discussion. I remember I was following your journey every
Yeah.
time, and I was very worried. I was like, is she okay? What's
Yeah.
happening next? I was one of the silent
Yeah.
observers. And when I saw it, I started crying.
Yeah,
'Cause I was
a
like,
lot. I cried
she's a
I was crying
hero.
for a week. So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, but it's a big emotion. It's I don't want to use the words rebirth and everything or second chance, but it really does feel like,
Yeah.
hang on,
It's
I got
close
it.
to
I
it.
got it back. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you still have this shadow hovering. Like, what
Mm.
if it comes back? What if this headache I'm having is because it's gone to my brain and they didn't catch it? You know, you get those little panics. But on the other hand, you need to remember that life is anyway not guaranteed. You can get hit by a bus. You can get choke on your food. But yeah, anything can happen. But the important thing is what you do with it, and you make the most of it. And that is kind of liberating in a way.
So I wanted also to ask you, as a last question, since we're going towards the end of this beautiful discussion of how you went through it, how you recover from it, how you're still, always cautious about everything. You need to take care of yourself, how you felt like you were reborn, and how amazing actually you are, how strong you are to be
Thank
there
you.
for your family, for your kids as well. So I wanted to ask you a last question. If you had a chance to speak to your traitor boo, what would you say to it?
First things first, I wouldn't call it a traitor boob anymore. I would actually apologize for calling it a traitor boob. I would thank it because it gave me a warning. It really gave me a warning. If it had not changed color, if it had not been alerting me in some way that something's wrong with my body, things would have been very different today. So yes, I know that a lot of people, when they've got these T-shirts which say "Check your boobs, mine tried to kill me," kind of thing, which is funny at first, but then you're thinking, hang on, they didn't try to kill you, they tried to warn you. They tried to tell you that something's not right.
So you would call him a guardian angel boob?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would take more care. Like, it gave me a chance to say, yes, I need to take care of myself, my mental health, my physical health a bit more. And I mean, it's great now that I'm still going to be getting checkups for the rest of my life. So I will have the scanxiety, as we call it, and everything. But yeah, it is. The anxiety of the scan is called scanxiety. It's a new word. So I'm seeing it more from a perspective of my body is talking to me, and we need to listen to our bodies when they talk to us, because they're giving us warning signs, and we don't often listen because we get caught up in, we've got to work, we've got to do this, we just have a to-do list and we stick to that, and we don't listen to when our body says, stop, I've run out of battery, and we just keep on going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit, that for me was a wake-up call to to listen to my body way more.
To pay attention
Yeah,
more. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation that we had. I hope
Thank
you
you for
had a good
having me.
time.
Yes,
I hope
no, it
you
was
enjoyed it.
great. Yeah.
And I want to close with a very positive, actually,
Yep.
statement. Your last post on Instagram. Do you want to read
Oh, yeah, I just posted a picture of myself crying.
it?
And I say, this is what a person who has just been told that they are NED, aka no evidence of disease, looks like. I won. I told you. As you were.
As you were.
As you were.
Thank you so much, Aliki.
Thank you for having me, Zoe.
Thanks. I want to be honest with you. Initially, I thought that we would have a very funny conversation with bits of laughter and hilarious jokes about Aliki's treatment. But after she poured her heart on me, I realized that there are not enough jokes to make the situation funny. There's nothing funny about cancer. And maybe today's episode did not have the intention to make you laugh. Maybe it had the intention to make you feel something or to learn something from this situation. We all have that inner voice inside our brains telling you that you cannot do things, that you're not capable, that you're not enough. And what I like about Aliki's story is that she was able to rise above the occasion to confront this inner voice, this cyclop, if you want to call it, that we all have inside of us, that is always there lurking about, and say to him, hey, I know you're strong, I know you're very powerful, and I know you're getting this power from me, but I want you to know that maybe one day I'll lose, but today I win.